This is WFYI News Now. It's December 13th, and I'm Drew Daudelin, filling in for Abriana Herron. On today's show, new revitalization efforts coming to Indy's northeast side. A federal court says Indiana utilities can't have dibs on building and owning power lines that cross the state's borders. And Indianapolis has seen at least 5 independent grocery stores open and close in less than a decade. Grocers say it's a tough world for small stores trying to survive.
It just took ages to even find somebody who would sell us milk.
Those stories coming up, but first, Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark is the 2024 Times Athlete of the Year. The announcement comes after Clark made a significant mark in her first WNBA season. She won WNBA Rookie of the Year while setting several league records. In her interview with the Times, Clark said she would describe her first season as historic, with being able to bring new fans into women's sports. And new revitalization efforts are coming to the northeast side of Indianapolis. The East 38th Street Renaissance Initiative aims to bring culture, art, and business to the community while also fostering economic growth and community pride. The project, announced this week, is led by New Direction Church and supported by the National Bank of Indianapolis. The partnership will bring $200,000 in down payment assistance for first-time homebuyers in the area, the installation of a drive-up ATM, and other financial wellness programs for residents. Ashley Gervitz is a member of the church and an activist for growth in the northeast side area.
And with this partnership, it is now about creating the intersection where faith and financial empowerment can happen.
Several local officials emphasize the importance of the collaboration, highlighting the need for continued support in a historically disinvested area. A federal court says Indiana utilities can't have dibs on building and owning power lines that cross the state's borders. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Rebecca Thiel reports consumer advocates say letting utilities do those projects likely would have meant higher electric bills for Hoosiers.
The U.S. needs those interstate power lines to connect renewable energy sources and help the country meet its current climate goals. Utilities have said they can ensure those lines are built well, respond to disasters faster, and save Hoosiers money. But consumer advocates like the Citizens Action Coalition disagree. Executive Director Kerwin Olson says competition brings prices down.
This is a good day for utility consumers in Indiana. HEA 1420 was inherently an anti-consumer bill, an anti-free market bill that further exposed customers in Indiana to monopoly pricing.
Last week, the court said the Indiana law violates interstate commerce rules. That's because it prohibits companies outside the state from being able to compete for power line projects, potentially missing out on billions of dollars in profits. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Rebecca Thiel.
The electric grid operator for central U.S. and parts of Canada says it will decide which companies will build those lines in Indiana sometime next year. State utilities could still appeal the ruling. The Indiana Energy Association says it doesn't comment on pending litigation, but that it stands by Indiana law. And for our final story today, the largest grocery store merger in history between Kroger and Albertson almost happened. A federal judge blocked it, citing concerns that it would limit competition and harm consumers. In Indianapolis, monopolies have played a part in at least 5 independent grocery stores opening and closing in less than a decade. A new grocer hopes to turn things around on the east side. But as Side Effects Public Media's Elizabeth Gabriel reports, the store is facing barriers.
Nearly half of Indianapolis's population lives in a food desert. That includes the East Side, a low-income area where many of the residents live a few miles from a full grocery store. That changed when a new Black-run grocer called Indy Fresh Market opened its doors a year ago. Grady McGee oversees the store.
One of our biggest things is our hot deli. We have a lot of people in this community that come here for our lunch.
That includes Jasmine Ray Johnson. She lives within a convenient 5-minute walk of the Indy Fresh Market.
I love to see Black people flourish. Their hot foods is delicious.
But despite the proximity, Johnson doesn't go often.
It's just a little expensive. I don't want to spend $8, $9, $10 on just a pound of ground meat.
And Johnson is right. I visited the Indy Fresh Market. They did have some ground beef on sale for $1.79, but their typical prices are high.
Okay, walking, turning a corner, going down a different aisle. Oh no. I am a frequent buyer of Rotel. I would never pay $2.19 for Rotel tomatoes.
Other essentials, including milk, bananas, and canned tomatoes, were more expensive there compared to Kroger. The store manager says they tried to work with local producers to stock some items at a fraction of the price, but that hasn't been enough to keep the store afloat. Here's Grady McGee, a Goodwill employee who oversees the store.
One of the concerns is some of our produce, not being able to sell our produce and making sure that we're priced appropriately.
Now, there are signs the retailer is struggling just a year after it opened. The store is an investment from a local medical device company to make food accessible and prevent health risks that come with food deserts. But experts say Indy Fresh Market's struggles actually aren't unique. First, smaller stores typically only sell groceries, but big box retailers have more revenue-generating items beyond just food. Take Walmart, for example.
You come for the groceries, but then you leave with household items, clothes, appliances.
That's Unai Miguel Andres, a data analyst at the Indiana University School of Medicine. He says the second reason is independent grocers don't have the same buying power as big box retailers. So the middleman between manufacturers and stores don't give them priority and charge them more. Andres says smaller stores need to raise the prices to break even, let alone make a profit. It's partially why nearly 7% of independent grocery retailers across the country closed each year from 1990 to 2015.
It just took ages to even find somebody who would sell us milk.
That's Mary Bowling, the former bookkeeper of Pogues Run Grocer, a store in the Near East Side of Indianapolis that shut down after 8 years.
I think we never ever made a profit on milk just because, the quantities we would buy it in would not be enough that we could sell it at a profit without people just, raising eyebrows at how much it costs.
So why don't big box grocery stores open in food deserts if they're the ones who can afford to survive? Here's Andres again.
We leave it to the free market. The market does what it does best, which is it puts these stores in affluent or well-traveled areas where they can make the most money.
Nutrition advocates say drastic changes are needed to create a fair market for independent grocery stores. Elizabeth Gabriel, Side Effects Public Media.
Side Effects Public Media is a health reporting collaboration of NPR member stations across the Midwest. It's based at WFYI in Indianapolis. That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by me, Drew Daudelin, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music. If you liked today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Monday.